Oh boy, there might be trouble in paradise between the New Jersey Devils and Jesper Bratt because the reports say that the New Jersey Devils might look to trade Jesper Bratt if a contract extension is unable to happen because he is a restricted free agent. What's going to happen to Jesper Bratt? How did this all start? And what are my thoughts on it? We have a lot to talk about in today's episode. Buckle up.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Steven stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, and also Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, Trey Matthews. It's been a while since it's just been me doing an episode because last week's series of episodes, I was in Europe. Specifically, I was in southern France. So I had Jersey Joe, I had Jake Wakely. In the past couple episodes, I had Seth of Locked On Wild. Then I had Chase Coward, a draft-eligible prospect, appear on my show. So it's been a while since it's just been a Trey Matthews type of episode. So let's see if I still got it. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about Jesper Bratt and his contract, I guess, quote unquote, dispute, because there might be some trouble in paradise between the Devils organization and Jesper Bratt. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about the background as to what's happening with Jesper Bratt's supposed extension. We're going to talk about the behind the scenes action, what I think is happening based on my perspective. And then I'm going to give you guys my overall opinion as to whether or not a contract extension will happen. So let's get some background information. So a few weeks ago, I'd say around Memorial Day weekend, I did an episode on Jesper Bratt supposedly agreeing to an extension with the New Jersey Devils organization. It was first reported by the Bratt Pack, which any of you Devils users on Twitter might be aware of his account. Very popular, high following, friend of the show. He's appeared on it with me and Jersey Joe before. He basically revealed, like I said, during Memorial Day weekend, saying that Jesper Bratt had agreed to an extension with the New Jersey Devils. It was under like $7 million annually. And basically that broke Devils Twitter. And I did a brief episode about it. I said I was going to wait until Jesper Bratt and the New Jersey Devils made it official themselves before I did a full-fledged episode, because like I said, I don't want to jump the gun on anything. I don't want to make an episode about it and then supposedly the contract negotiations fall through and then, I kind of look a little silly. But ultimately, it's been revealed that Jesper Bratt has been in the discussion for trade talks. So it was first reported by Frank Saravelli, and then obviously people on Twitter were just basically calling it fake news, saying it's not going to happen. The Bratt Pack even said that it wasn't going to happen. I myself said it wasn't going to happen because I was just like, okay, this is just some NHL insider just trying to stir the pot a little bit. And, I get it. It's the off season for a lot of teams. There's two teams remaining, which is the Avalanche and the Lightning in the finals. That series is going to be over soon. And basically it's just, they're just trying to get some traction. It's a slow news day, yada, 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 whatever the case might be. But then a few other NHL insiders were tweeting the same thing, including Kevin Weeks. And then basically we're just like, oh, this might not be fake news. There might be some trouble in paradise between Jesper Bratt and also the New Jersey Devils organization. So like I said, the initial report by the Bratt Pack was that Jesper Bratt had agreed to an extension signed under $7 million. I said that was huge because you look at someone like Jack Hughes and you look at someone like Nico Hischier. I believe Hischier signed for like $7.25 million annually, and then Jack Hughes is signed $8 million annually. So I was like, if Jesper Bratt signed under $7 million annually, then obviously he's getting paid less than Hischier and Hughes, and he was arguably our best player last year. So that's probably a big news source for New Jersey Devils, which is, getting Jesper Bratt to sign that extension long term, and then basically our baby big three is intact for years to come. But like I just said, we got some rumblings about Jesper Bratt being a restricted free agent and teams being interested in him. So basically, that's the background of the supposed contract extension. Now, I want to defend my buddy, the Bratt Pack, which is I don't believe the Bratt Pack was wrong in a sense, saying that Jesper Bratt did sign an extension. However, I did mention it in the episode in which I covered it on I said it was probably a verbal agreement, which is maybe Jesper Bratt wants to get an extension done. The New Jersey Devils want to get an extension done. And basically they're just like, okay, let's put that on the table. We want you back, Jesper. Jesper wants to come back. And maybe they did say we want to sign long-term, because Jesper Bratt did appear on a Devils podcast and said that he was committed to the New Jersey Devils and that he wanted to remain with the organization and that he wanted to help them going forward. So let's just get that out the way. I think Jesper Bratt does want to sign his extension with the New Jersey Devils, which is why I'm not really too concerned when Frank Saravelli, when Kevin Weeks are basically tweeting out saying that the New Jersey Devils might have a few trade options for Jesper Bratt. I don't think that's going to happen, but ultimately the fact of the matter is Jesper Bratt still has not signed his extension despite the news of this circulating a few weeks ago, and we're in late June, we're almost to July. So ultimately, it's just like what's going to happen to Jesper Bratt. And like I said, I'm just defending the Bratt Pack here because he's a Devils personality similar to me. And, you know, we do get inside information. Now, there's a reason why I cite my sources, because in case the information is wrong, you guys can't come at me and you got to go after the source. Now, if nothing is confirmed and that source also says that, I don't reveal their name. I don't reveal their association. I just say nothing is confirmed nor denied. But the Bratt Pack made a little bit of a mistake by saying that this was going to be a done deal. And like I said, we're a few weeks into the offseason for New Jersey Devils, and still no contract extension announced between Bratt and the Devils organization. So ultimately, you know, the Bratt Pack, he's human. We all make mistakes. And I don't doubt for a second that Jesper Bratt will sign an extension with the New Jersey Devils. I believe it will get done. And I'll reveal a little later in the episode as to why I stand by that. But ultimately, it's just like, you know, nothing was confirmed, nothing was denied. I believe it was just a verbal agreement, and they still had some logistics to work out. So that way an extension could hypothetically get done. I thought it might have happened on June 3rd because obviously Jesper Bratt wears number 63. So maybe that would have been a little cliche, but still would have been cool to see. But I don't know what the annual money will be for Jesper Bratt. We know that the Devils have $25 million in cap space. We know that Jesper Bratt is coming off a career year, and we know basically the ball is in his court because he has some choices to make. And I think he knows how to, I guess, quote unquote, exploit the New Jersey Devils. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll talk about that momentarily. I'm not saying that Jesper Bratt is a bad guy or he's trying to manipulate the New Jersey Devils in any which sort of way. I'm just saying, like, you know, from a business perspective, from a player perspective, Jesper Bratt does have the ball in his court. So I'll explain what I mean by that momentarily. But first, it's time for the first live read this morning, and comes from our friends at BetOnline. So BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and MLB. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. And now, the second live read comes from our friends at Rock Auto. So with the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse has to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto's prices are reliably low for every consumer. They have everything you need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website to find all the solutions to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car, truck, right locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com, everybody. Now, before I did the live read, I said that Jesper Bratt is probably a good business person. Him and his agency are discussing with the New Jersey Devils. This is most likely a verbal agreement, which is nothing's official yet, but there's still some logistics they have to work on with the overall contract. Now, here's my perspective from Jesper Bratt, which is he is coming off a career year in which he was able to lead our team in points. He was tied for most goals, and he had the most assists on our roster. So you know that Jesper Bratt is riding high on that sort of production. And then you look at the pending offseason for the New Jersey Devils, which is they have $25 million in cap space. Now, we all know that that number is going to go down a little bit because we obviously got to pay Jesper Bratt his dues. And Jesper Bratt knows that the New Jersey Devils are trying to take their organization to the next level. So what I mean by the ball's in his court, which is he could basically demand whatever he wants from New Jersey Devils. And the Devils are going to have to play devil's advocate just a little bit and just try to give in to his needs. So once again, him just coming off a career year, him just, having that sort of productive year for the organization, I know Jesper Bratt is going to be demanding a big payday. Now, I'm not saying he's deceitful. I'm not saying he's manipulative. I'm not saying he's trying to play hardball with the Devils organization, but those are some factors that you have to take into consideration. And I believe that Jesper Bratt definitely knows his worth. And do I think the New Jersey Devils are going to trade him? My honest opinion is no, because if you trade away Jesper Bratt, I don't know what you're going to get out of it, because I think this is similar to a Kevin Fiala situation for a Devils organization, minus the financial woes that the Minnesota Wild are currently having, which is Jesper Bratt is coming off a career year. His previous few seasons in the league, nothing impressive, nothing to write home about, but ultimately it's just like they're going to look at this big season that Jesper Bratt had, and is he projected to have that same type of production for years to come? Or was that just a one-off thing because it was a contract year for him? So that's where I see the similarities between him and Kevin Fiala, minus the financial situation. Now, looking at it from the New Jersey Devils perspective, it's just like, look, Jesper, we do want to pay you and we do want you back because you are a vital component for our rebuild and trying to take our organization to the next level. Because without Jesper Bratt, the Devils take a couple steps backwards and they're no longer in a position to try to go after somebody to try to take the organization to another level and get back into like wild card contention or whatever the case might be. Because if you lose Jesper Bratt, you lose a whole lot of production. You lose one of your best players. And now the New Jersey Devils are going to have to go back to the drawing board momentarily. They're going to have to rely on the draft. They're going to have to rely on maybe, some blind luck, whatever the case might be. And now it's just like, instead of just trying to contend for a wild card spot, we're back in the same position that we were a few years ago, which is we have no chance of making the playoffs. We're basically just going to have to roll the dice and see what happens. So the Devils know that they need Jesper Bratt as a seller if they really want to take an organization to another level. Like if you're trying to go after someone like Johnny Gaudreau and you lose Jesper Bratt via a trade or whatever the case might be, do you really think Johnny Gaudreau, despite wanting to come back home, and I get that he's from South Jersey, grew up a Flyers fan, but, he's still in his hometown state. Do you think someone like Johnny Gaudreau would be willing to sign with the Devils organization if they are missing Jesper Bratt? Because I'm sure someone like Johnny Gaudreau, he doesn't want to take Jesper Bratt's position. He wants Jesper Bratt as his teammate, so that way he has more options to work with in terms of his overall production, and the Devils are able to be like a threat in terms of just being a dark horse contender. So my ultimate thing for Jesper Bratt is that, he knows that the Devils have cap space. He knows he's coming up a career year. He knows that the ball's in his court. He knows that the Devils organization is going to need him. And then on the flip side of that, the Devils are probably like how I was a few months ago, which is Jesper Bratt the real deal? Or was this just like a career year for him? Is this just a one-off thing? Which raises the important question. What do I expect from Jesper Bratt year in and year out? Like, do I expect him to have the type of season that he had this year? Because here's the thing. I had expectations for Jack Hughes. I had expectations for Nico Hischier. I had some mild expectations for Yegor Sharangovich and Yanni Kuokkanen. But in terms of Jesper Bratt, I was just like, you know what? If he was able to do what he did last year, I'm okay with that. But now that has changed a little bit since he was arguably one of our best players this past year. So what do I expect from Jesper Bratt, like I'd say 3 years from now? So my thing is like, I expect anywhere from 65 to 75 points for Jesper Bratt. I expect anywhere from 80 to 100 points from Jack Hughes next year. So my thing is like, Jesper Bratt doesn't need to be our best player year in and year out. He just has to be one of our best players. Like, I need to rely on him on the offensive side of things to put some points on the Devils board. So that's my overall mentality for Jesper Bratt, which is, I do have high expectations for him next season, but ultimately, does he need to lead our team in points to be effective? Does he need to lead our team in points to, just be considered one of our better players? No. I expect that kind of production from Jack Hughes because, Jack Hughes signed his 8-year extension and we're paying him annually about $8 million. So I expect that kind of thing from Jack Hughes. But for Jesper Bratt, the reality of it is that I don't think a lot of people are expecting for Bratt to be the best player for a Devils organization. That's basically my perspective. I think they expect it from Jack Hughes. I think they expect it from Nico Hischier, especially since he's our captain. But what's the one thing I've been saying about Jesper Bratt throughout the course of this year? He's one of the more underrated players because the expectations for Jesper Bratt aren't as high as they are for Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, which is why I think he'll still get paid less than Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes, but he's still vital to our roster. He's still vital to our organization. And I believe that Jesper Bratt can definitely have that sort of impact. Now, the important question is, like, do I believe in a contract extension will get done? I personally think so. I don't see any scenario where the New Jersey Devils are just basically at an impasse and are just saying, you know what, we give up. We're going to trade you and see what happens. No, that would be stupid of them. You don't trade someone like Jesper Bratt at this point of his career. You really need to ride that hot hand. You need to strike while the iron is hot because you need to give Jesper Bratt what he deserves. But at the same time, I need you to go into the meeting room and tell Jesper Bratt, look, we know you want a big contract. We know you deserve it. We know that you were our best player last year alongside with Jack Hughes. But ultimately, here's the fact of the matter. We're trying to go after someone like Johnny Gaudreau. We're trying to go after another big name player, whether it's unrestricted free agency or by a trade. And we're also looking to get a solid goalie because there's some other areas that the New Jersey Devils need to improve on. They need more forward depth and they need a better goalie stability tandem duo alongside Whit McKenzie Blackwood. And they probably have to improve their bottom six a little bit more, but I'm sure you can find some diamonds in the rough. I feel as though the defense is starting to come into full fruition just a little bit more, especially with Jonas Siegenthaler, Dougie Hamilton, Ryan Graves, all of them, and maybe PK Subban could come back. I'll talk about that in a future episode. But ultimately, that's what you need to establish a Jesper Bratt. So I understand both sides, and I can understand why there's probably an impasse in terms of the overall discussions. Now, I cannot confirm nor deny that's the reason why, these contract extensions are kind of, slow right now. But I will say this, these things take time. And that's what a lot of other Devils beat writers were covering, which is, these kind of things do take time. They're not going to happen quickly. So my overall thing is like, I'm confident that an extension will get done between Jesper Bratt and the New Jersey Devils organization. And it's the same thing that I said when the Bratt Pack released that tweet saying that Jesper Bratt was officially coming back to the New Jersey Devils. I was just like, that's a really quick contract extension talk, especially if it's a long-term deal. Now, I get that Jesper Bratt revealed in a podcast that he wants to come back to the Devils organization. He really wants to finish what he started. He wants to help the team win. I think he sees the potential that this organization has, but the ball's in his court as to whether or not what's going to happen to his future, because he can demand more money. He can say, like, you need me if you want to be a seller point to these free agents and say, come over to New Jersey and play with us. Because like I said, we're trying to aim after, people like Johnny Gaudreau. We're trying to aim after someone like maybe Jack Campbell. I think Darcy Kemper is off the table, especially if the Avalanche hold on and win the Stanley Cup final. So I think we can pretty much scratch that one off the list. But ultimately, guys, I know it's a little stressful. I know, it's a little nerve-wracking, especially since you don't know what's going to happen to Jesper Bratt. But I just want to say these things take time. I think Jesper Bratt and the New Jersey Devils organization, I think they're both aware that they need one another in order to be successful in their respective futures. And I do believe that Jesper Bratt really genuinely means what he says, which is he wants to come back to the Devils organization. So, and go easy on the Bratt Pack, okay? So, like, we all make mistakes. Sometimes we do breaking news that's a little too early, but I do believe that the Bratt Pack did have an inside source saying that a deal was done for a Devils organization with Jesper Bratt. But my overall thing is like, I have inside sources telling me a lot of stuff too, but I tried not to reveal it until I get official word from a different source, just to be better safe than sorry, because I don't want anyone coming after me and I don't want anyone coming after my inside source. So that's why if someone gives me a vital piece of information and it's not confirmed nor denied by a few other sources, I usually present it as a hypothetical kind of thing. I'm just like, can't confirm nor deny this, but this is going to happen. And, it ultimately did happen. Like with Dougie Hamilton, I knew Dougie Hamilton was going to sign with the Devils organization. And when I broke the news, a lot of people came after me because maybe I'm not the right source to be the one breaking it. I'm not the most reliable source to be saying like, Dougie Hamilton signed. Like, I'm a reliable source, don't get me wrong. But, in terms of being the first one, especially since Pierre LeBrun didn't really reveal anything yet, few other like top-notch NHL insiders, I can get, the skepticism, and, I've seen it happen before, but ultimately I do have inside sources telling me all sorts of things, but I'm just a little more careful how I present it. But ultimately, in terms of this whole Jesper Bratt saga and the drama surrounding the organization, I genuinely believe Jesper Bratt is going to come back. And that's my overall mentality, which is they both need one another if they're going to become successful. So on Bratt's end, it's just like, look, I'm coming off a career year. I know you have salary cap. I know you want to go after some big name players, whether it's by free agency or a trade. And you need me as a selling point, because if you lose me, you can kiss those free agents goodbye. And then on the Devils side of things, it's just like, look, we want to pay you, but we got to be careful of how we spend our money, because I need you to sacrifice just a little bit more in order for us to build our team a little bit better. So I think that's why the extension talks are kind of at a stall. And the fact of the matter is, the bottom line is, these things take time. It's going to take a while. Maybe something can happen when I post this episode. Maybe something can happen a week or two after I post this episode, but I really don't think it's anything to worry about. If I had to bet all the money in the world, which, by the way, go to betonline.net if you want to place your bets, I would say Jesper Bratt remains with the Devils organization, and then we just move forward, and I think our baby big three is going to remain intact. So I believe that Jesper Bratt is going to suit up with the Devils organization come this season. So let me know what you guys think about this whole Jesper Bratt saga. Do you think that he has one foot out the door? Do you think he's going to remain with the Devils organization? Do you think he's already verbally agreed to a contract extension and it just hasn't been made official? Because there's a difference between a written agreement and a verbal agreement. So I personally think it's just a verbal agreement. So let me know what you guys think. Hit me up on Twitter at TreyMatt4, or hit me up on the show's Twitter page at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you guys. So thanks for listening. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Once again, Jesper Bratt will return to the Devils organization.